Jayararam Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Jasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Jamunti Ravanatari Jamunti Ravanatari Jayararam Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Jasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Jamunati Ravanatari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Boom. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jayararam Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayararam Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayum Vishnupad Paramahansa Kadiba Jikacharya Asatet Vishesha. His Divine Grace Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT Founder Jaya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anantakota Vaishya Brindi Ki. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Goho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mathura Dham Ki Jagannath Swami Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Ganga Mai Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Sambhita Bhakti Vrinda Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Say Radha Giridhara Ki Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki Gopremanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Krishna Swadamo Bhagate Dharmaganadi Bisaha Kalandasam Dasamesha Pararno Ko Nidodata Narayana Namaskritcha Naram Shaivam Narotama Devin Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamurdirayat. The Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. It has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Person who lost their vision through the dense darkness of the age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of God and Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess of the living Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and Srila Prabhupada. Chad, could you open that door again a crack? Just a crack. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from the 8th canto. The demigods and the asuras are churning the ocean of milk, trying to get immortal nectar out of it, and various wonderful things and dangerous things are coming out. So that's where we're on verse 9. Tasyam Jakru Spriham Sarve Sasarasura Manavaha Rupadarya Vayo Varna Mahimakshipta Chetasa Tasyam Chakru Spriham Sarve Sasurasura Manavaha Rupadarya Vayo Varna Mahimakshipta Chetasa Tasyam Chakru Spriham Sarve Sasurasura Manava Rupadarya Vayo Varna Mahimakshiptas Chetasa Tasyam Chakru Spriham Sarva Sasura-sura-manava Rupadaya Vayovarna Mahimakshipta Chetasa Tasyam Chakru Spriham Sarve Sasara Suramanava Rupadaya Vayovarna Mahimakshipta Chetasa Tasyam Chakru Spriham Sarve Sasara Suramanava Rupadaya Vayovarna Mahimakshipta Chetaso Tasyam Chakru Spriham Sarve Spasura Suramanava Rupadaya Vayovarna Mahimakshipta Chetasa. You want to try it, Mataji? Not to put you on the spot, but if you want to. Tasyam Chakru Spriham Sarve Sasara Suramanava Rupadaya Vayovarna Mahimakshipta Chetasa Tasyam unto her Chakru did Spriham desire Sarve everyone Sasara Asura Manava the demigods, the demons, and the human beings. Rupa Adarya, by this exquisite beauty and bodily features. Vaya, youth. Varna, complexion. Mahima, glories. Akshipta, agitated. Chetasa, their minds. Translation. Because of her exquisite beauty, this is the next personality to come out of the ocean of nectar. Because of her exquisite beauty, her bodily features, her youth, her complexion, and her glories, everyone, including the demigods, the demons, and the human beings, desired her. They were attracted because she is the source of all opulence. Also, you say, because of her exquisite beauty, her bodily features, her youth, her complexion, and her glories, everyone, including the demigods, the demons, and the human beings, desired her. They were attracted because she is the source of all opulence. And Prabhupada's purport. Who in this world does not want to possess wealth, beauty, and the social respectability that come from these opulences? People generally desire material enjoyment, material opulence, and the association of aristocratic family members. Bhogaishvarya prakashatanam. Material enjoyment entails money, beauty, and the reputation they bring, which can all be achieved by the mercy of the goddess of fortune. The goddess of fortune, however, never remains alone. As indicated in the previous verse by the word Bhagavat Pada, she is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is enjoyable only by Him. If one wants the favor of the goddess of fortune, Mother Lakshmi, because she is by nature Bhagavat Para, one must keep her with Narayan. The devotees who always engage in the service of Narayan, Narayana Parayana, can easily achieve the favor of the goddess of fortune without doubt. But materialists who try to get the favor of the goddess of fortune only to possess her for personal enjoyment are frustrated. Theirs is not a good policy. So the celebrated demon Ravana, for example, wanted to deprive Ramchandra of Lakshmi, Sita, and thus be victorious. But the result was just the opposite. Sita, of course, was taken by force by Ramchandra, and Ravana and his entire material empire were vanquished. The goddess of fortune is desirable for everyone, including human beings. But one should understand that the goddess of fortune is the exclusive property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot achieve the mercy of the goddess of fortune unless one prays both to her and to the Supreme Enjoyer, the Personality of Godhead. Om Gana Timarandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Jakshushun Militan Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I wanted to start off because we are reading of course, the whole Bhagavatam is amazing from start to finish. But this, at least to me, is quite an amazing, extraordinarily amazing section. You've got demons on one side, demigods on the other. You've got the Lord as the Lord tortoise with a mountain on his back. There's churning at the demons and the demigods. And amazing things are coming out. Well, come on. You expect me to believe this? Maybe it's all allegorical. It's representative. You know, that I remember that I'd been reading the first canto of the Bhagavatam. It's all we had. And in those days. And I was at the Laguna Beach Temple helping with the Sunday feast preparation. We were cutting fruit, to be exact. And there was a visitor. And the visitor, first time coming, was looking at the picture of Mahavishnu. Do we have a Mahavishnu? We have Mahavishnu right there. So he was looking at Mahavishnu, and I was explaining how just like you look in the, I was actually confusing. I was misspeaking, as they say now. That I said, you know, it's like you've got Orion's belt, and you've got the Big Dipper, and you've got, you know, whatever it is, the different, huh? You got the Milky Way. You got so many things out there. And it's more or less, if you connect the dots, it'll explain the constellations and planetary systems in the sky. And, you know, there it is. And there was a brahmachari who was cooking in the kitchen. We were in the anteroom. And he came out, threw open the door. He happened to have a knife in his hand, which it was a pretty impressive scene. And he said, "You rascal." He said, "You speculator. It's in the Bhagavatam. It's the truth. It's reality. It's not Alec." And he just let me have it. And I said, well, okay, that's interesting. And I accepted it. So the thing is, because we are simpletons. Yes, I said it. We are simpletons. We think we're so, it's one of the symptoms of the age of Kali, which we're deeply immersed in, is that everyone is just saturated with pride and I've got, no, you don't. We can't see what's on the other side of this wall. We don't know how our hair is growing or we're digesting food. We don't know so many things. And we're thinking, well, as the famous example, I had the great good fortune of being there. Well, a biology professor from Wayne State University in Detroit kept saying to Prabhupada, well, as far as I know, Swami. Well, as far as I can see, Swami. Well, and after a few times of this, Prabhupada said, that's my point. How far do you see? I remember, and I've mentioned it before, and I'm going to mention it again, it was Take Your Child to Work Day. And my family, our house, had a long, thin driveway. I had to rake it, so I remember how long it was. And when you're a kid, everything seems bigger. So, and I was fond of my father. I had a very good father by Krishna's. Materially, he was a good, and I had a best of spiritual fathers, so I won the lottery on both sides. And I remember I would see my father would be off. I'd be going to school, so I'd have had my breakfast, and my father would drive down the long driveway, and I would stand at the top, his youngest son, and I would wave goodbye affectionately to my father. And he would turn right. He would always turn right. And after that, where he went and what the rest of the world looked like just fell off the radar. I knew that if I walked half a block, I went to my friend's house, John Dewar. We would play football together, so I knew where I was probably about 6 years old. And I knew if I walked another 2 blocks, which seemed like an eternity, that would be my school. My little, it was called Arroyo Seco, my little elementary school. And I knew that if I got in the car with my mother, we would go 4 blocks to the grocery store. And she would buy me some nice snack, some little tasty something. So with my lusty little tongue, I was always enthusiastic to go with my mother to the grocery store. And I knew where the movie theater was. I knew that another 4 blocks were at the movies. But after that, how would I know? I had no idea. And I remember my father, it was Take Your Child to Work Day. We got in the car and we took a right turn at the bottom of the driveway. And before I knew it, I waved goodbye to my little friend's house, to my school, to the grocery store, to the movie theater. We were really in the outer edges of the universe by this time. And we got on the freeway. Whoa! And we drove in about 15 minutes. We were downtown Los Angeles. And it was huge skyscrapers, and there was free whizzing everything. And I was, whoa! It literally blew my mind. And I remember my father took me to his office. We went up the elevator and looked out the big windows. I could see all the way to Santa Monica, to the ocean. I couldn't believe it. I said, "Geez, is that where Mars is?" I was thinking, where are we, you know? So what did I know? But I thought I knew things. I could function within my little specialities. I could, you know. So we think that things are simple. And when we read about something complex, we think, well, that can't be true. That's got to be allegorical. And, well, as far as I can see, well, I don't. People argue, well, I don't understand. Well, of course you can't understand. You're a pea-brain. You're living, how long are you living? And what have you experienced? And how powerful are your senses? So I don't understand. Well, when did that become the criteria? A little child doesn't understand. Suppose I said, well, I don't believe in Russia. I don't believe in India. I've never seen it. I don't believe in the Taj Mahal. What are you going to think? This guy's got an attitude problem. Well, I don't understand. I walk into, I'm thinking of Sariputta, you know, at Caltech or MIT or whatever, the University of Chicago and the physics departments, they've got those math boards, chalkboards that pull out, and there's one behind the next, behind, you know, and to do their equations so you can see it, you've got like 6 or 7 boards, and it goes from one board, and it's all alphabet soup. And suppose I say, when I was 12 years old, well, I don't understand. Oh, okay, then the guy takes an eraser and erases everything, because little Bobby here doesn't understand, so it can't be true. He'll ask, did you take algebra? No. Did you take geometry? No. Take trigonometry? No. Take math calculus? No. Take advanced physics? No. Well, of course you don't understand. I remember looking at a sailboat, because we lived by the ocean later on. And how does a sailboat, it doesn't fall over the edge. You know, it goes slowly. You see it slowly go down. So I remember thinking, well, where does all the water go? Like if you fill up a bathtub, you know, I was thinking, where does all this ocean water, why doesn't it just fall off? And after a while, there's no more ocean, right? You pull the plug out of a bathtub and all that. It's going over the edge. Oh, well, I remember asking my father, well, where does all the water go? He looked at me like, well, better send this kid to vocational training, you know, whatever it is. They've got no Einstein here. So we don't understand. And that things are complicated. And that it's mind-blowing. It's all, yes, it should be. If we look at how amazing, Chad and I were out during Mangalarti picking flowers. And there's just so many different colors and scents. Of course, we didn't smell them. And I have noticed in my years as a gardener that it's seasonal. And one type of flower fades out of its season, and another flower comes. And Krishna's arranged it, at least here in California, Southern California, that there's always something coming in, and if you plant the garden right, there'll always be something that you can offer to Krishna. And it's changing, and there's always variety, and yeah, no, it's thanks to Krishna. But so I don't understand. In this whole world, it's mystical at every moment. And therefore, it should generate some humility. That I don't own this, I don't control this, I don't have it all figured out, and I can stand up and pomposity, is that a word? Fully, I should know that, as someone who embodies it. You know, pompous, prideful, vain. Well, there's no God. You're a simpleton. You believe in God, and it's okay if it gets you through the night. But I'm a realist. I know it's all happening by chance. You want to believe there's someone in the sky who's going to catch you if you fall over the edge of the universe? Okay, fine. But I know that it's all hard physics. No, you don't. You talk to someone who's a real physicist, you talk to Sariputta, and no one point is ever at the same place at the same time. You can't predict. There's no predictability. It's completely chaotic. It looks. I mean, the Swami just. So that's, and looking at the time, that's one point I wanted to make, that the idea that we know how this world is working and we know how it should be run and we know how to, if we know so much, look what a mess we made. Just to comport with the nature of things. There's seasons. Chad and I, while we're picking flowers, we were talking about global warming. Because what is it in Nebraska? What were you telling me last time you were in Nebraska?
It was 40 to 90 degrees.
40 to 90 degrees. It's completely kittywampus. Is that still a word? Kittywampus? Out of whack. You ever heard kittywampus? Oh, that's a great word. It's kin to being akimbo. You know akimbo, don't you? Akimbo. So doesn't make any sense at all. But everything's out of whack. And why is it out of whack? You know, we found the criminal, and the criminal is us. So it's not a little humility, a little, as I said last Sunday, a little bit of the attitude of gratitude. That's intelligence. So it's not who are we to deny that there's order and pattern and symmetry and intelligence, and therefore it's a purpose-driven universe, which means, guess what? There's a right way and a wrong way. There is absolute reality. It's not all, what do you call it? Circumstantial ethics? What do they call that? What is that? Huh? Yeah, and that's not the word I'm looking for. Situational ethics. Situational ethics. No, there's an absolute reality. There's a right and wrong. What? Throw out all the philosophers from the last 300 years, because there actually is an absolute truth. There's a constant. What? I remember my brother, my older brother, who's softened. Time has softened. But I was reading Prabhupada's Gita, and I had the Gita in my room. And he said, "Oh, you're reading that?" Like what? I've got it there as a book weight. I mean, obviously I'm reading it, you know. But he said, "I don't like that edition of Bhagavad Gita." I said, "Why?" I mean, I was reading Prabhupada's Gita. I thought, finally. He said, "Oh, it lays things out too clearly." That's what he didn't like, that it laid things out too clearly. Or when Tamal Krishna Maharaj and I were talking with the chairman of the religions department of the University of Michigan, and Tamal asked him, "What are you guys all about?" The guy asked him, he said, "Well, we're following Bhagavad Gita." And the man announced, he said, "I teach Bhagavad Gita 101. And Tamal said, "Oh, so you've read Bhagavad Gita?" He was in the same prideful mood as me. He said, "Of course I've read Bhagavad Gita." So Tamal asked him, "Did you understand it?" I mean, he was almost offended. "Of course I understand. I'm teaching Bhagavad Gita." And then Tamal said to him, "So what are you going to do?" And you watch this look of bewilderment come over the man's face. Do? What are we going to do? What's that got to do with Gita? The idea that the Bhagavad Gita ends with a call to action, Sarvadharma Parityaja, become my manmana bhava madbhakto, think of me, surrender to me, serve me. That had never even crossed the guy's mind. Oh, I have my desire, and there's a Supreme Lord who has his desire. And the reason everything's so messed up is because I'm trying to impose my desire over the way Krishna wants things to run and has designed things. And that's why I'm in a heap of trouble. Oh, I need to change my activities and change my desires. Never even crossed the guy's mind. So, we live in a complicated world, and if we don't hear everything else, we hear from, you think about it. I want to mail a letter. I remember being in Turkey, in Istanbul, and I wanted to mail something. And the devotees, they were out and about, and I had it all ready. I thought, I'll just go out and mail it. What did I do? Did I just roam? I didn't even know what color a mailbox is. In America, I imagine you could wander around and look for a box with a curved top that's red and blue.
Google.
Well, this is before the Google days. Sorry, I should have added that. But what do you do? Even Google. You find somebody who knows, and you follow the directions. And everybody, SMS, what do you call it? GPS. And it doesn't stand for Guru Prasad Swami, who you could ask him, you'd be in better shape. But you just ask. And you learn over I turn left, I turn right, I do this, you got to, Radhanath Maharaj, and I don't think he'll mind. Well, I won't mention his name. There's a devotee, nice devotee, comes to the temple. And when GPS first came out, and the voice direction, and he was showing off Radhanath Maharaj. Oh, it can go from 0 to 60 in so many seconds, and it's got this type of, injection and this kind of, Radhanath Maharaj. It's not really, core interest for him. But he was very polite because he's a naturally humble person. He said, thank you. Oh, very nice, very nice. So we got in the car, and we take off, and it's a woman's voice. And the first thing she says is, a door is ajar, a door is ajar. Sariputta was with us. Sariputta, double PhD, said, no, a door is always a door, and a jar is always a jar. So that's welcome, meet Sariputta, So we're moving along. Turn left, turn right, fasten your seatbelt, flashes, And after about 15 minutes of being slapped around by this woman's voice, Radhanath Maharaj said, this is worse than being married, which I thought was pretty funny, So, we have full faith. Thing tells me to turn right, I turn. We learn over years, it's accurate. You put your faith in it and you follow it. It's better than my guess. So if we go to the authority and we read Shastra and we have a spiritual master, we can figure out when to turn left, when to, don't do that. That's not a good idea. The Bhagavatam is full of cautionary tales. Don't do this. Like when you were a kid and you learn how to drive and they show you the movie and Mickey knows how to drive and Goofy's a hell on wheels. There's a good example and a bad example. So it's the same thing. Don't do that. Don't try to manipulate everything to work you away. So there was something else I wanted to say. In addition to that, we live in a mysterious, mystical, incomprehensible world. And we're not going to figure it out. We're not going to control it. We're not going to conquer it. But the other thing I wanted to say, let me just look at, let's say it this way. Because another thing we can learn is this is a complicated world. And if I want the goddess of fortune, which we're reading about now, is chanchala, which means flickering. She's moving. She doesn't stay in one place. So if I want, and as Prabhupada says here, everyone wants it. We want the goddess of fortune to stand next to us. Now, well, let's say it this way. If I have a square peg and a round hole, and I'm trying to fit that square peg into a round hole, do I just keep slamming on it? I just got to hit it hard enough. Just got to hit it from the right angle. Is that going to solve the problem? And I've mentioned it before, and I'm going to mention it again. My former landlord, Mr. Lowe, who we called Mr. Slow, and you'll understand why. I'm with my son and my daughter. We're at the stoplight here, and there's a restaurant. Actually, it's just a bunch of bones and feathers at the, it's called the Broken Yoke or Broken whatever it is. It's that breakfast place. So we're at the red light, so we can look around. And we notice Mr. Slow leaning on the door and leaning on the door and pushing and pushing. Can't get the door open. And he looks, because we're standing there, we're watching. There's people inside. It's obviously open. They're serving people meals, just bones and feathers, but whatever. And so there must be a way into the place. It must be open. It must be cooking. There must be a way in. And he's... My daughter, who's actually quite smart, must get it from her mother. So my daughter figures out what's happening and yells, rolls down the window, or pushes the window, and yells, "Mr. Lowe, pull, pull." You follow? Yeah. He was pushing. He can push till hell freezes over. He's not getting in. You got to work with the system. He had, and then he's, okay, and pulled the door open. So you can bang till hell freezes over. You're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. What's the problem? What was the problem for Mr. Lowe? That's a general. But you got to know how the system works. You work with the system. It's designed. It works in a particular way. And you work it according to the system, and lo and behold, it's easy. Krishna says, what is it, 4th chapter, 3rd chapter, Bhagavad Gita? I should know this. I think it's 4th chapter, but I sent forth men and generation of men and demigods and said, "Be thou happy by this jaga." It's the way it works. So if the goddess of fortune, I'm thinking of water, but if I want Chad to stay next to me, and he's always going in different directions. I'm just using you because you're in front of my field of vision. Don't go mental on me. But what's the best way to make sure I'm always next to Chad? To make Chad go my way, or what's the alternative? To go his way. If I know where Chad wants to go, and I go that way, then Chad's always going to be next to me, because we're going in the same place, with the same intent, the same purpose. So this purport is describing, hang on a minute, they're all chasing after Krishna. They're always in anxiety. Everybody's struggling and fighting, and it's not peaceful. The demigods are not peaceful. There's always something going on. Even in the subterranean heavenly planets, which are even more beautiful than the heavenly planets, every now and then the Sudarshan chakra goes through and lops off somebody's head. Jeez, it's a little hard to get peaceful. So, but if we want the goddess of fortune with us, somebody help me out with this. Sankarshan, if I want, using these Chad analogy. If I want the goddess of fortune always with me, then what do I need to know? You probably just said it in the purport. All right, Dravida.
You need to know where she likes to go, and then you have to...
You need to know where she likes to go. Now, we're reading here where she likes to go. It's right here in front of our face. Where does the goddess of fortune like to be? What was the analogy given? Using Ravana? Oh, help me out. You're laughing. Let's hear your answer. Where does the goddess of fortune like to be? Narayan. What was the fault of Ravana? He was a powerful worshiper of Lord Shiva. He conquered all the demigods. He moved his eyebrow and everybody panicked. But he didn't put Sita, the goddess of fortune, next to Lord Ram. Prabhupada says you want the kingdom of God without God. Well, good luck. So the demigods, they're always in anxiety. They're always fighting. They're always in an unstable situation. But if we actually learn what does Krishna, the goddess of fortune, should be used in Krishna's service. I was just listening to a tape this morning. Do you have a job, Dravida? I mean, you have a devotional service, but do you have an income? You're going to get Govardhan? Sankarshan? You're going to get a check at the end of the month and you're paying rent? Do you know do you know how you're going to pay for dinner tomorrow? We just serve Krishna. We depend on Krishna. And not only are we fed, they never get ghee and fresh fruit. What to speak of? But that was nice. That was nice prasadam on, when was it? Not the night Radhanath Maharaj was here? Yeah, it was nice prasadam. Anybody in anxiety that there's going to be breakfast and who's going to pay for it? And I better save a little money off Sankirtan. Because I don't know if breakfast is going to be around tomorrow. And not only that, we open our doors and we tell them, come on in. Prabhupada had us. And I don't know if they did it in New York. But before we had breakfast and before we had dinner, one devotee, lunch, a devotee was assigned to go out to the front door. And Prabhupada told us to do this. Blow on a conch and then call out, if there's anyone hungry, come have a meal. We used to do it. We used to blow on a conch, and we used to get people. Well, okay. It wasn't the highest intellectual caliber. But we used to get some people who would walk in. So we can feed others. We're not in anxiety, and we can actually feed others. And it all happens by Krishna's mercy. You ask Dayanidhi how many times we have not had, and it doesn't mean we should take advantage or be lazy. We work hard. The devotees work hard for. Sankarshan falls asleep because he works hard. I mean, we should work on that, but he's working hard. We're all sleeping, and he's washing the pots to make sure the kitchen's clean, I mean, so we work hard for Krishna, but we're not in any anxiety, and we can take care of others. And it's a that's what I was going to say. How many times we had a restaurant one time at Govinda's up by San Diego State, and we were just getting started, and anyway, it's a whole story. But I cannot tell you how many times I've paid the electrical bill when I was the president, this is 25, 30 years ago, with rolled up quarters, that Krishna at the last minute has just done something wonderful. I mean, we had I remember to this day the mortgage on the temple Ann Arbor, Michigan, was $218. It was a nice Queen Anne-style house. It was a nice little temple, made a lot of devotees. 36 initiated devotees in 3.5 years. That's not people who moved in. That's initiated devotees, 36. It's a far-out place. So, but I remember the rent was $218. And well, just not that we should take advantage. We work hard, that was my point, in the service of Krishna. But it doesn't seem like hard work. I will end in a minute. It's actually fun, you know, serving Krishna. What did Jesus say? He says, my yoke is light. I'm trying to remember that, whatever. You know, but, you know, we're serving Krishna. But it's not slavery or, you know, working for a boss. Or it's fun. Huh? Gaur Hari Bol. So but what I was going to say, and we live in a mystical universe. I had to come up. It was Saturday. I needed to come up with another $150 to have enough money to pay the rent and pay for the Sunday feast. I got up Friday morning. I was going to go out and distribute books, and it was pouring rain. What am I going to do? I thought, well, I got to come up with the money. I got to sell some books. I got to figure what I'm going to do so I can pay for the Sunday feast. And the guy was fried on us. The landlord had told us, you know, I'm tired of you paying late, and I don't want any rolled quarters. So I was kind of in a tough spot, you know. He'd figured this out. I go out, it's pouring rain, I'm trying to be under an awning, nobody's stopping, there's so many different things. I stayed out till 9 o'clock at night, I'm driving home, I have no money for a Sunday feast, no money to pay. The guy's coming Monday morning, there's no question about it. And as I was driving up the hill to our temple, the engine just died. It's just like the cartoon movies, you know, when the wheel falls off and the engine falls on the ground. And I'm walking back in the rain. And if I don't have a car, how am I going to go out early Sunday morning and try to figure this thing out and sell some? But what am I going to do? So I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm soaked to the bone, and I'm walking up this hill. And I notice that the lights are on, and I don't have a car, I don't have a means to solve the problem. And, you know, a dark night of the soul, Krishna, I know true confession here. Krishna, where are you? You know, you're God, you could help, you know, why you're doing this, what have I done wrong, you know, what kind of God, or, you know, every now and then you get those, not in a long time, but it can happen. So I'm, you know, like Lear on the morgue, you know, cursing at the God, you know. So anyway, there I am. And then I noticed the lights are on downstairs in the temple. I think, oh, geez. And there's a car in the driveway. I think the last thing I want to do is try to talk to somebody about Krishna consciousness. I want to take some prasadam, and I want to go to sleep. And I hope this all is a bad dream and I wake up tomorrow. I don't feel like being bright and full of Krishna consciousness. I was mad, you know, foolish person that I am. When I walked inside, there was Deborah and Doug, who we've been preaching to at Michigan State. And they decided to move into the temple. And they had a new car and $500 that they gave. So we had, from the dark night of the soul, all of a sudden, we got 2 more devotees. We got a new car that works. We got money for the rent, and I could buy strawberries for the sweet rice, for the Sunday feast. I thought, well, I take it back, Krishna. I didn't mean it, you know. So, I mean, it's not that, you know, God is our order supplier, and I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that we live in a mystical world. We don't control things. We don't own things. We can't take the square peg and make it fit in a round hole. We've got to mold ourselves to Krishna's desires and Krishna's design and Krishna's purpose. So that's a little explanation of this verse. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. That's right. I got a few left. Anyway, thank you, Prabhu.